Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Dustin Wise from Allegany College of Maryland. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We had your neighbors Frostburg on a while back, and I know you guys aren't too far from them, but you guys have a nice junior college there in what I would consider Western Maryland, as I think most people would. But let's talk a little bit about. So I believe you just had one season under your belt there. Is that right?
We just finished our second season.
Oh, second season. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so 2022 was the second season. I got hired March time frame 2021, and then the game plan for that was start a men's program. So we had a co-ed program previously, and 2018 was the most recent that they had a season for that. We have not had women's soccer since 2007, I think, if my memory is correct. So right now, myself and Coach Randy Jarrett are actually also we're in the process of starting up a women's team for 2023. So that part's exciting. But yeah, 2021 got hired, got late in the game. So whenever I came on board and tried to get all the locals, they were already going elsewhere. So we scraped together a 13-man roster, one of which tore his ACL in our immediately following our first game. So played out the rest of a 14 game season with 12 players. So it wasn't exactly easy. Score lines were not pretty,
I
but
bet, but
it happens.
you managed to do it. So congratulations on getting through the next season. And
Exactly. You got to get through it. So
well, that's all right.
moved through 21 and then got to 22 and brought in like 20 plus recruits and was a complete different story. So now I like where we're at. We're on track now with what I kind of imagined whenever I first came on board. So
Well, let's talk about recruiting a bit. Obviously, junior college is a little bit tougher because you're recruiting twice as much. But you mentioned when you started, all the locals were gone. So now, what is kind of your recruiting philosophy in terms of locals versus regional versus national? What kind of events do you go to? What does that look like for you all?
yeah, so pretty much anytime there's something at the Maryland Soccerplex, we're there. As far as locals go, it all depends. Like I said, 2021 I was too late to get any of them. 2022 I took almost all of the locals. And then now in 2023, because of where we're sitting numbers wise and talent wise, I don't have any Allegheny County kids right now that are committed for 2023. In large part, some of that too is because a lot of the talent in the county is 2024. So I'm trying to keep some room for them, but it fluctuates. You know, I'm looking all over the place. We had this past year, we had 5 or 6 international students, had players from Georgia. This coming year, we'll have Texas, Florida, Alaska. So yeah.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about the international kids and I guess maybe even out of state. So how does that work in terms of, you know, I mean, obviously, I'm going to take a wild guess here, and Allegheny College is not flying you outside of the country to go recruiting players. So how is it that international students are finding their way to Allegheny College?
Yeah, just through a lot of different recruiters out there. Trying to keep in touch with as many as I can and see. The problem is, I mean, when you look at out of state slash international tuition, we're not exactly the cheapest, even for a junior college. Especially when you look at international students who are going to come here and not have modes of transportation or anything. Like they'll live on campus, which we do have on campus housing, which is a huge benefit, but that price point obviously goes up with it. So just reaching out and then having to be kind of selective with everything that you have coming through. So we're, like I said, not the cheapest. So looking for guys who have a good budget that we can bring in and then try to this past year, the past 2 years, it's been easier because they know they're going to come here and get pretty early playing time. Now that we're established, I'm having a lot more trouble getting internationals who could go elsewhere for a little cheaper. But I think we're laying the groundwork that I think we're going to be able to maintain having at least a few internationals yearly.
Okay. Well, in terms of, um, you mentioned cost. So, I'm not holding you to hard numbers here, but what exactly is a student, whether that's maybe not break it up by in-state, out-of-state, however you guys do it, but what is somebody really looking at in terms of their cost to attend Allegheny College?
Yeah, so obviously Allegheny County kids, um, they're pretty much able to come here for next to nothing. The out-of-state kids who do wind up living on campus, I tell them worst case scenario, you're probably looking around 18,000 for the year, which is still cheap compared to most four-year schools, right? So that's kind of the ballpark I've ranged it in is 18,000. That's taking maximum credits and stuff like that. So there are ways to get that number down a little bit. These past 2 years, we were a Division III junior college. Now we're moving up to Division II junior college. So just like NCAA, we will have a little bit of athletic money to play with. Uh, Not a lot for this first year, but it at least kind of gets us trending in that right direction now. So I'm hoping that'll help with the internationals and out of state guys. But yeah, 18,000 is probably like worst case scenario for a kid.
So you mentioned it and actually had this question at the soccer fields last night. A parent asked me, hey, do junior colleges offer soccer scholarships? And I was like, well, yeah, but they got different divisions, kind of like NCAA. You just mentioned that you guys were Division III NJCAA. You're moving to two. So what does the scholarship situation look like for the different divisions of junior college? Just a kind of a broad explanation for folks who may not know.
Yeah, kind of structured the same as the NCAA, right? So D1, D2 can offer athletic scholarships. D3, it's all academic based. So these past couple years, like I said, we've been a D3 junior college. Now moving up to D2 for our league in particular, we're a little odd in Maryland, right? So for example, last year we were a Division III team, but we play everybody in Maryland. So whether you're D1, D2, D3, we still play you. Okay. So that doesn't exactly help. It helps in recruiting. I'm not going to lie. Being able to tell you we're playing against some of the best teams in JUCO, like that isn't a lie. Like we are truly playing against some of the best teams in junior college. Um, but for example, we played a team out of Massachusetts last year. They were Division III. We were Division III. We beat them 2-0. They finished the year top 10. We finished the year with a losing record. Like, because it's not comparing apples to apples really, because we're playing a little bit of everything. So the only thing I don't necessarily like with our setup is there are some schools in our conference who are D2 that have 4, 5, 6 times the amount of athletic scholarship money that I'm going to be playing with. So you got to kind of find ways to get on board with get on par with where they're at talent wise.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, in terms of kind of my last recruiting question for you, but whether you're looking at international kids, you're at an event at the Soccerplex or anything else like that, what is it that really kind of makes you decide, okay, this is a kid we want to offer, and we want them to play for us at Allegheny?
Yeah, and I mean, I tell kids this all the time too on social media whenever they're sending me highlights and stuff. Like, I want to see what you do when you lose the ball. Like, you're going to make a mistake in the game. I want to see what you do after it because I can't tell you how many times I see a kid lose the ball and then they're out of the game for the next 5, 10 minutes. Like, they're just in their own head. So, that first 15, 30 seconds after, I want to see what you do in large part because I do a lot of counter pressing, right? So as soon as my team loses the ball, I want to go and get it back. So if you're the type of player that you lose the ball and you just give up or you're in your own head now, I'm not really looking for that. Being in junior college, we're looking for guys who want to come in that feel like they were overlooked for whatever reason, right? So they may have had Division III offers, but they want a Division II offer, they want a Division I offer. Try to get those guys to come on, give them that little bit extra exposure, get them on a collegiate strength and conditioning program, stuff like that to try and better their chances and then go that route as well. So I've had numerous kids who, they had D2 offers and it's one of those conversations where the D2 school is not going to lose interest in you if you walk away for one season to go JUCO and better your craft. Like they're still going to be interested. So why not play against other college players and improve in all aspects? So
No, that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school itself. Um, I know you've been, I think, in that area for a while, of Western Maryland. So what is it that you find is, kind of makes that school, makes Allegheny College kind of a hidden gem, of Western Maryland?
yeah, so I mean, looking at just the men's soccer portion of it real quick, like we're the furthest west in Maryland men's soccer program for junior college. So that aspect of it is pretty nice. You can kind of we're close to everything, right? So we're probably about 2 hours, give or take, from Pittsburgh, but we're 2 hours, give or take, from Baltimore and DC as well. So you're kind of close to everything, but we are in the mountains, which has a nice little landscape backdrop, whenever you're trying to look at the field, it looks nice. I've been a lot of places. I've been coaching now since 2008, so I've never felt as at home with faculty and staff as I do here. And I say that too with even like our students. Like I feel like they have a much better, which I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time out of junior college, so it might just be the junior college thing, but seeing their reaction and their relationships with the staff, athletic staff, or even like their teachers, like they seem to get it a lot better. And I mean, everyone knows you by name because it's a lot smaller of a campus size, right? So you're looking at classes that max you might have 16 students in your class. That's nice. You're going to get the help you need academically, which goes a long way, especially when you're looking to then transfer on to your 4-year program.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of going to class and kind of a typical day in the life of a junior college student at Allegheny, let's take it back to the fall when you're in season. What would a typical week look like in terms of games, practices, classes, meals, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we have a strength and conditioning coach. He's there on Mondays. So we basically have our guys check in with him on Monday, kind of get a workout plan for the week. And then that's kind of their set goals for the mornings, right? Some of the guys' schedule ranges. I mean, we would usually train between 4 and 7 p.m. On the field. Now, classes would run anywhere from guys starting at 8 a.m. to guys finishing their final class around 5 p.m. So we kind of would fluctuate a little bit with that. And then everybody's, when they're hitting the gym and stuff like that, based off of their class schedule, right? All of our games are Tuesdays and Thursdays for the most part. We have a couple weekend games sprinkled in, but most of the games are Tuesdays, Thursdays. So try to get the guys to avoid those classes as much as possible. Or if they have classes on those days, get them in the morning and be good to go. But playing every school in Maryland, like there's some where we're traveling 3-4 hours to a game. And now that we're in the women's program, like I can only imagine we're probably gonna have to be leaving the school 9-10 in the morning, and doesn't give you a lot of time, to knock classes out. So that's another thing that we're stressing heavily is try to avoid those days as much as possible. Training would be, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then if we're playing games on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and those days would basically be based off of who we're playing, how those games went, and kind of where we're at injury wise. So Fridays would be sometimes just a full blown recovery session, get the guys ready for the weekend. Occasionally, we'd have Saturday morning practices to kind of recap everything from the week, give them that day to kind of push themselves, and then I give everyone Sunday off every week. Unless of course we have a game on a Sunday, but that's a different a different story, right? So that's basically, I give them as much free time as I feel I can through the fall, just to try and make sure that, if they have to work and stuff like that, it is still a junior college. So I'm trying to give you some flexibility with your schedule and get more, acclimated to the academic side of it as well.
No, I think it's a great way to look at it, and it's nice to be able to give them that flexibility. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team. I know you mentioned you had to duke it out with 12 in that first year, and hey, I was a Division II head coach in the last game of my first season. We took 12, so I feel you. It happens to even the the bigger schools. But
Right.
how many players do you like to roster? If you had your druthers, what would be your ideal roster size for a typical season?
Yeah, I think probably 28, give or take, 25 field players, 3 goalkeepers. This past year, I started the season with 3 goalkeepers. I finished the season with 1 healthy, which surprisingly was the starting goalkeeper for the majority of the season. Like the backup got injured in a reserve game when he came on and then got hurt the very next day again on the opposite end of his body. Um, in training. And then our other goalkeeper, he got hurt in preseason, so we never even got a chance to roll him out. Um, so now this fall, I'm trying to have 4 goalkeepers, but similar. One of those is most likely going to be he's having shoulder surgery here coming up, so he'll probably miss the whole fall, but we'll see what happens. But 28, give or take, would be ideal.
Okay. Now you mentioned you do have an assistant. Is that right? Is that what your staff kind of does that round out your staff? And what will that look like with the women's program? It will be you guys running that program as well, or a new staff?
Yeah, so how we have it set up is there's the head coach for one or the other, and then a paid assistant for one and the other. So how we did it this past year, whenever we started the whole recruiting process for the women's team, was I was listed as the head coach for both, and then Randy was listed as the assistant coach for both. What we're looking at doing now for 2023 is Randy will assume the head coach duties of the women's team. I'll be the head coach of the men's team. I'll have a paid assistant, which was a volunteer for us last year under the men's team. And then we're looking for a paid assistant under the women's team as well. Now, I say all that to then say we plan on, even though on paper it's this coach and this coach are assigned to the men, this coach are the women, we're planning on all 4 coaches kind of being both teams just to get the most out of as much as we can out of the players.
That's amazing for both teams. That's great. Well, how would you describe kind of your style of coaching and the team style of play?
Yeah, so like I said, I like to counter press with everything, right? Lose the ball, go and get it as soon as we can. I'm very aggressive, very aggressive. So I think in some regards that has hurt in some closer games or games that we had it close at one point, and then when we try to push a little bit more, we shot ourselves in the foot at different times against some of the bigger JUCOs, but it happens, right? So I'm one of those that we're looking to counter. So if we're losing the ball, go and win it back. As soon as we win the ball, I want you full blown attack mode, right? So the outside backs are kind of who provide all of the width, and then more times than not, it's a 4-2-3-1, but the three stay fairly narrow. So, like I said, the width is coming from the outside backs, and then that's kind of where we're. If we run it right, it results in good offense. If we're running it poorly, it results in the other team getting some very good looks on us. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's running more right than wrong, right? Well,
it varied last year, but
uh,
like I said, with the amount of guys we have coming back this year and everything, I'm fairly confident for 2023. I really am.
well, good, good. Well, in terms of the off season, we're talking here at the end of February, so it's non-traditional season time. What does that look like for you guys in terms of, how much are you practicing, playing? What does that kind of off season look like in the spring?
Yeah, so we go about 3 days a week right now. Um, Weather pending, obviously. Try to be on the field 3 days a week. Once we hit April, we have a couple of scrimmages set up, but they're more along the lines of tournament style, I guess you would want to say. Like We'll go out to a Division III school. We'll play against them, and then we'll also play against another local JUCO that will be playing there that day. Going out to another D3 school where that one will actually be set up as a 7v7 tournament where there will be 4 teams. So we'll just kind of be doing like round robin thing on a smaller sided stuff. And then I have one set up with a college club team and another junior college here beginning of April as well. So hopefully get the guys as much experience as we can moving forward. A lot of the guys that we have working out this spring are only the guys who are intending on returning in the fall. We do have a couple guys who are going to train this spring with us and travel with us that are still kind of looking for their 4-year school to go to and try to get them a little bit more exposure that maybe they missed out during the fall. But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, we've talked about a lot of different things, covered a lot of ground. I always like to end these the same way, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else would you like folks to know, whether it's about the recruiting process, about junior college, about Allegany College, or anything else? I leave you with the last word.
Yeah, so I mean, like I touched on earlier with junior college, like, and I was one of the kids that was like this, don't look at junior college as being something that's beneath you, because it does provide a lot of opportunities that um, you might just not be receiving for whatever reason at your high school or club level, right? So I remember, coming out of high school, I had a couple Division II offers. So in my head, I'm a Division II player, right? And every single junior college that was closer and a lot cheaper, I'm like, no, you're beneath me. Like 13th grade, right? Like I'm good. So looking back, I wish I would have won a different route in that regard. Gotten early playing time, but also gotten a chance to kind of go out and save some money, be a lot more local, which isn't for everybody, but have that chance that I could have been local, and then build off of that. Build my resume against college athletes while getting the playing time and getting that strength and conditioning program in. But yeah, don't overlook JUCO. It is tough. Like there are some teams in JUCO that are scary. So
Yeah, I hear you. Well, good advice. There are a lot of fantastic programs out there that can definitely save some folks some money and be very, very good soccer programs. So, uh,
definitely.
it was great to have you on. Wish you the best of luck through the spring and into the fall, and hopefully you can keep rising up the ranks and knock off some of those big time Division I JUCO Maryland programs that you get on your schedule each year.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.